The handcuffs close around his wrists at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in October, and the man wearing them does not resist. He could. The officer applying them weighs 220 pounds and is standing with his weight on his front foot, his balance committed, his radio hand occupied. It would take less than a second. But the man does not move. He stands on the curb outside the Miramar Hotel in Tsim, Tsui, and lets the steel bite his wrist bones and says nothing. 41 hours from now, the officer who arrested him will be sitting alone in an empty interview room on the 3rd floor of Yau Ma Tei police station, holding a cup of tea that has gone cold. Staring at a formal apology letter, he cannot bring himself to sign because he is not sure he was wrong. His name is Sergeant Lau Kam-Yuen. He is 34 years old, 5'11", 220 pounds, most of it in his shoulders and neck. The build of a man who learned to fight before he learned to read. He grew up in Sham Shui Po, the part of Kowloon where the buildings lean together like drunks holding each other up, and the stairwells smell like kerosene and boiled cabbage, and someone else's laundry. 4th floor, no lift, a 2-room flat shared with his parents, his grandmother, his 2 brothers and a cousin from Guangzhou who slept in the hallway and never explained why he left the mainland. Lau's father drove a taxi 6 nights a week and came home with his knuckles white on the steering wheel and his jaw clenched against whatever had happened in the back seat that he would never discuss. His mother sewed piecework for a garment factory on Chengshawan Road, collars, cuffs, hems, and was paid by the piece, and was always sewing. The sound of Lau's childhood was a Singer sewing machine running at midnight. He joined the Royal Hong Kong Police Force at 19, not because he wanted to serve, because it paid, because the uniform meant something in Sham Shui Po, because his father said, "You can drive a taxi, or you can wear a badge. One of those, people move out of the way." Lau chose the badge. 15 years on the force, he has walked the night beat in Mongkok, where the neon turns the street into a fever dream, and the triads run the mahjong parlors, and the karaoke bars, and the women standing in doorways who look at you with eyes that have stopped calculating. He has worked vice in Wan Chai, where the sailors come off the ships and the money changes hands in ways that leave no paperwork. He has broken up knife fights in Yau Ma Tei, chased purse snatchers through the Jade Market, pulled a dead infant from a dumpster behind a congee shop on Temple Street, and carried it to the ambulance himself because no one else would touch it. He is not cruel. He is not corrupt. He is something more common and more difficult to fix. He is exhausted. 15 years of the night shift has compressed his compassion into a small, hard object that he keeps in his chest like a stone. He does his job. He follows procedure. He does not make exceptions. Not for triads, not for politicians, not for celebrities. He has heard the name Bruce Lee exactly twice. Once from his wife, who watches television, and mentioned something about a kung fu actor. Once from a constable at the station, who had a poster in his locker. Lau did not look at the poster. Movie stars are not real to him. Real is the knife fight at 3 a.m. Real is the paperwork at 5. Real is the sound of his wife breathing in the dark when he gets home and tries not to wake her, and always does. He does not know that the man he is about to arrest is the most famous person in Hong Kong. Nathan Road, 11:38 p.m., Tuesday, October 9th, 1972. The temperature is 79 degrees, humidity at 91%, the kind of Hong Kong night where the air itself sweats. Neon reflections bleed across wet pavement. Red, blue, gold, the street a smeared painting of light and commerce. Taxis honk, hawkers shout. The Star Ferry horn sounds across the harbour, low and ancient. The Miramar Hotel sits on the corner of Nathan Road and Kimberley Road. 12 stories, white facade, the kind of hotel where businessmen from Tokyo and buyers from London stay because the concierge speaks 4 languages and the bar serves gin and tonics that cost more than Lau makes in a shift. Outside the hotel entrance, the pavement is wide. A taxi rank, a doorman in a burgundy uniform, 2 bellhops, a semicircle of light from the lobby spilling onto the street like something expensive that got dropped. Lau is on foot patrol, walking south on Nathan Road with Constable Ho Chi Wei, a 22-year-old probationary officer who has been on the force for 4 months and still believes that the uniform means something noble. Ho is eager, alert, young enough to think the night shift is exciting rather than slow erosion. They hear the disturbance before they see it. Raised voices, not Cantonese, English, coming from the hotel entrance. A man's voice, loud, American accented. Another voice, quieter, controlled, also English but different. The vowels shaped by Cantonese underneath. Lau picks up his pace, not running. He never runs toward noise. Running looks like panic. Walking fast looks like authority. They reach the hotel entrance and find 4 people. A white man in a rumpled linen suit, red-faced, mid-40s, American. He is shouting and pointing at a Chinese man in a dark blue jacket and black trousers. The Chinese man is standing very still, not retreating, not advancing, just standing. Between them, a young Chinese woman in a hotel uniform, a hostess or a concierge, her hands raised in a calming gesture that neither man is responding to. Behind them, the doorman in burgundy, frozen, unsure of his jurisdiction. The American is loud, his words are sloppy with alcohol. Lau catches fragments, put his hands on me, grabbed my arm. Assault, I want police, I want him arrested. The Chinese man in the dark jacket says nothing. He is watching the American with an expression Lau has seen before but cannot immediately place. Not anger, not fear. Something patient and slightly sad, the way a teacher watches a student making a mistake. The teacher has seen 100 times before. Lau steps into the light, badge visible, hand near his radio. Constable Ho flanks him, 1 step behind, 1 step to the right. Textbook positioning. What's happening here? Not a question, a statement. The voice Lau uses to flatten situations. Lau, flat, bored. The voice that says, I have done this 10,000 times and none of them were interesting. The American turns, sees the uniform, and his volume increases. Thank God. Officer, this man assaulted me, grabbed my arm. I want him arrested. I'm an American citizen. I want a report filed. Lau looks at the Chinese man. Up and down. Fast assessment. 5'7", maybe 5'8". Lean, 140, 145. Wearing good clothes but not flashy. No watch, no rings. Standing with his weight centered, his hands visible at his sides, his fingers relaxed and open. No threat posture, but there is something in the stillness that Lau registers without naming. Most people, when a police officer looks at them, shift, adjust their posture, become smaller or larger, depending on whether they want to hide or confront. This man does neither. He simply stands, as if the badge, the uniform, the authority Lau carries like a weapon. None of it changes the equation for him. He is exactly the same person he was before Lau arrived. Lau has met dangerous men, triad enforcers, ex-military, men who have killed and carry it in their shoulders like a weight they cannot put down. This man doesn't read like them, but he doesn't read like a civilian either. He reads like something Lau has no category for. Sir, what happened? Directed at the Chinese man. The man speaks, Cantonese first, then switches to English for the American's benefit. His voice is calm, unhurried, precise. This gentleman was harassing the hostess, touching her arm repeatedly after she asked him to stop. I asked him to stop as well. He pushed me. I moved his hand away from my body. That is all that happened. The American erupts. That's a lie. He grabbed me. Kung Fu or something twisted my wrist. I want him charged. I want sir. Lau cuts the American off. Flat. Final. He turns to the hostess. Miss, what happened? The hostess speaks quickly in Cantonese, confirming the Chinese man's account almost exactly. The American had been drinking in the hotel bar, came outside, began talking to her. She tried to maintain professional distance. He grabbed her arm, twice. The Chinese man intervened, asked the American to stop. The American shoved the Chinese man in the chest. The Chinese man deflected the shove and applied some kind of hold to the American's wrist. Brief, controlled, released immediately. No injury. The American began shouting. Lau processes this. Standard situation. Drunk foreigner. Local woman. Third-party intervention. Under normal circumstances, he would tell the American to go back to his hotel room, tell the Chinese man to go home, file nothing and continue his patrol. 90% of Nathan Road incidents end this way. Paper creates problems. Resolution creates quiet. But the American won't stop talking, won't stop demanding, won't stop saying the word arrested, an American citizen, an embassy, like incantations that will make Lau do what he wants. And Lau is tired, 15 years tired, shift after shift tired in a way that makes small decisions feel large and makes the path of least resistance the only path that doesn't require energy he no longer has. The path of least resistance is arrest the Chinese man, process the paperwork, let the American file his complaint, let the station sort it out. If the Chinese man is innocent, he'll be released by morning. If the American is lying, the complaint goes nowhere. Either way, Lau's shift continues without a shouting foreigner on Nathan Road, attracting a crowd that will require more paperwork. He makes the decision the way he makes all decisions at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, efficiently, without thinking about what he doesn't know. "Sir, I'm going to need you to come with me to the station." He is speaking to the Chinese man. The Chinese man looks at Lau for a long moment. Something moves behind his eyes. Not surprise, recognition, as if he expected this, as if he has seen this particular injustice before. The person who intervenes being punished for the intervention, and long ago stopped being surprised by it. On what charge? Assault. Based on the complaint. The woman just told you what happened. "Sir, I'm following procedure." You can make your statement at the station. The Chinese man looks at the hostess, speaks to her in Cantonese. Gentle. "Don't worry, this will be resolved." She looks like she wants to cry. Not for herself, for him. He turns back to Lau, extends his wrists. "If you're going to arrest me, do it properly." Something in his voice when he says it. Not defiance, not submission. Something else. Dignity. The kind that doesn't need an audience. The kind that exists even when, especially when, it is not being recognized. Lau takes out the handcuffs, standard issue, steel. He applies them to the man's wrists, clicks them closed, checks the tension. Professional, correct. Constable Ho is staring. His mouth is slightly open. His eyes are moving between the arrested man's face and something in his own memory that he is trying to match. "Sergeant Lau." "Not now, Ho." "But Sergeant, I think that's..." "I said not now. We're processing." Ho closes his mouth, swallows whatever he was going to say, follows as Lau leads the handcuffed man toward the patrol car parked on Kimberley Road. The American watches them go, straightens his suit, smiles, goes back into the hotel, orders another drink, tells the bartender, "I just had Bruce Lee arrested." The bartender freezes, sets down the glass he was polishing, stares at the American. "You did what?" "Yau Mate, police station, 12:14 a.m. Wednesday. The station sits on Waterloo Road, a 4-story concrete block that looks like it was designed by someone who had never heard of natural light and resented the concept. Inside, fluorescent tubes buzzing at a frequency that lives in the back of your teeth. Green walls, linoleum floors polished to a shine that reflects the misery upward. The smell of instant noodles and cigarette smoke, and the particular staleness of a building that has been processing human failure 24 hours a day since 1922. The front desk is manned by Station Sergeant Young, a 51-year-old officer with a face like a cliff face and a voice like gravel being walked on. He has been behind this desk for 9 years. He has processed more arrests than he can count. Nothing surprises him anymore. Nothing has surprised him since 1965. Lau walks the handcuffed man through the front door. Constable Ho follows, still pale, still silent, still carrying the unsaid sentence like a bomb in his mouth. Young looks up, sees the handcuffed man. His pen stops. It does not just slow down, it stops. Completely. The ink dot on the ledger page grows into a small pool. Young's face does something it has not done in 9 years. It changes expression. Sergeant Lau, assault complaint. Foreign national victim. Processing. Sergeant Lau. Young's voice is different now. Lower. Careful. The voice of a man choosing each word like he's walking through a room full of broken glass. Take the handcuffs off that man. Lau looks at Young. Doesn't understand. I'm processing an arrest. The complaint is, take the handcuffs off that man. Each word a separate sentence. Each word carrying the weight of something Lau doesn't yet comprehend. Lau looks at his prisoner, looks at Young, looks back at his prisoner. Why? Young stands, slowly, comes around the desk. Something La has never seen him do. In 9 years, Young has never left the desk during processing. The desk is Young. Young is the desk. He walks to the handcuffed man, bows, not a nod, A bow. Deep. The kind of bow you give to someone who outranks you by a distance that cannot be measured in stripes or stars. Mr. Lee, I am deeply sorry. Please forgive this error. The station goes quiet. Not the gradual quiet of people trailing off mid-sentence. The instant quiet, the kind that arrives like a power cut. One moment, noise. The next, nothing. Typewriters stop. A phone rings once, and someone picks it up and puts it down without answering. A constable in the hallway freezes with one foot in the air like a man who has walked into a photograph and can't walk out. Mr. Lee, Lau hears the name, processes the name, cross-references the name against the face in front of him, against the physique, against the stillness, against the way this man has stood in handcuffs for 27 minutes, without once adjusting his posture or showing discomfort, or asking for anything, against the poster in the constable's locker that he never looked at. The name arrives in his understanding the way a stone arrives at the bottom of a well, slowly and then all at once, and then the water closes over it and everything is different. Bruce Lee. He is arrested Bruce Lee, the biggest star in Hong Kong, the most famous martial artist alive. The man whose face is on every magazine, every billboard, every newspaper, the man whose films have broken every box office record in Asian cinema history, the man whom taxi drivers talk about, whom children pretend to be in schoolyards, whom grown men discuss in tea shops with the reverence usually reserved for gods and dead fathers. The man who could have removed those handcuffs at any time, could have removed Lau's hands from his body, could have removed Lau from the situation entirely, could have done things that Lau's training has no protocol for, and chose instead to extend his wrists and say, if you're going to arrest me, do it properly. Lau's hands are shaking, not visibly. Inside, the tremor is in his blood. He takes out the handcuff key. His fingers are clumsy. The key scrapes against the steel casing before finding the slot. The cuffs open, he removes them, puts them back on his belt. Lau starts. You are doing your job. Bruce Lee's voice. Quiet. No anger, no edge. The same calm he had on the pavement outside the Miramar. The same calm he had when the cuffs closed. The same calm he would have had, Lau somehow understands, if the cuffs had never been opened at all. The American filed a false complaint. You responded to a complaint. That is procedure. Lau stares at him. You're not angry. Why would I be angry? You didn't know who I was. That's the point. You should treat everyone the same whether you know who they are or not. The problem isn't that you arrested me. The problem is that you arrested me instead of him. The station is still silent. Every officer, every clerk, every constable within earshot is listening to a movie star in handcuff marks explain police procedure to a sergeant who has been on the force for 15 years. Young speaks, Mr. Lee, we will process the release immediately. No charge, no record, and the American's complaint will be investigated for filing a false report. If you wish to file a counter-complaint, I don't. Sir, I don't wish to file anything. The hostess at the Miramar, her name is Miss Wong. She was the one being harassed. If anyone should file a complaint, it's her. Not me. He looks at Lau. Make sure she knows she can. Make sure she knows someone will listen. Lau nods. Doesn't trust his voice. Bruce Lee walks toward the station door. Every eye follows him. He stops, turns back. Sergeant. Yes, the tea here is terrible. You should talk to someone about that. A sound escapes from someone in the back of the station. Not quite a laugh, more like the release of pressure from a valve that was about to burst. Then another. Then the whole station is exhaling, and something that was rigid and awful for the last 4 minutes becomes human again. Bruce Lee walks out of Yau Ma Tei police station at 12:31 a.m. No car waiting, no entourage. He turns left on Waterloo Road and walks. The fog has rolled in from the harbour. It softens the streetlights into halos. His footsteps are quiet on the wet pavement. He walks like a man who has nowhere urgent to be and knows exactly where he's going. Lau does not go home when his shift ends at 6 a.m. He drives to the Miramar Hotel, parks on Kimberley Road, walks into the lobby, asks for Miss Wong. She arrives from a back office, sees his uniform, her face tightens. Expects trouble. Miss Wong, I'm Sergeant Lau. I was here last night. I remember, I arrested the wrong person. She says nothing. Waits. Mr. Lee asked me to tell you something, that you can file a complaint against the American for harassment, that someone will listen. Miss Wong looks at him for a long time. She is 23 years old. She has worked at the Miramar for 2 years. She has been harassed by hotel guests 11 times. She has reported it 0 times, because no one listens, because the hotel wants foreign money, because a hostess is a hostess and a guest is a guest, and the math has never been in her favor. He said someone will listen. He did, and I will make sure of it. She considers. Something shifts in her face. Not hope, that would be too much, but the space where hope might grow, if the soil were not so salted. I'll come to the station this afternoon. I'll be there. He turns to leave. She speaks. Sergeant, you put handcuffs on Bruce Lee. I know, and he told you to help me. I know. You're lucky he's who he is. I'm starting to understand that. The complaint is filed that afternoon. The American is identified through hotel records as Gerald Buchanan, 46, a textile buyer from Dallas, Texas. He is contacted by police, informed of the harassment allegation, and told that his false assault complaint is being investigated separately. Buchanan checks out of the Miramar the same evening, takes a taxi to Kai Tak Airport, flies back to Dallas. He never returns to Hong Kong. Miss Wong's complaint is processed. The hotel is notified. A meeting is held. New protocols are drafted regarding guest behavior towards staff. Small changes, specific, the kind that only happen because someone filed the paper and someone else made sure it wasn't lost in a drawer. It is not justice. It is not revolution. It is one woman walking into a police station because a man in handcuffs told a sergeant to make sure she knew she could. Lau sits in interview room 3 at Yau Ma Tei Station. It is Wednesday afternoon, 41 hours since the arrest. In front of him is a formal apology letter drafted by the station commander's office. 2 paragraphs, addressed to Mr. Bruce Lee. Standard language, regrettable incident, procedural review, assurance of no recurrence. Lau is supposed to sign it. His signature as the arresting officer. Below the commander's signature. He stares at it. The tea beside him is cold, has been cold for 20 minutes. He picks up his pen, sets it down, picks it up again. He is not sure he was wrong. The arrest was procedure, a complaint was filed. He responded. He processed. That is the job. That is what 15 years on the night shift has made him. A processor, a mechanism. Input, complaint, output, arrest. The machine worked exactly as designed, but the machine arrested Bruce Lee for protecting a woman from a drunk. The machine arrested the intervener and let the aggressor walk back into the hotel bar. The machine did what it always does, followed the path of least resistance, and the path of least resistance ran directly over the person who was doing the right thing. The letter says, regrettable incident. It is not a regrettable incident. It is a mirror, and Lau does not enjoy what he sees in it. He signs the letter. Then he takes a fresh sheet of paper, writes a second letter. This one is not from the station. It is from him. Personal, handwritten. It is 4 sentences long. Mr. Lee, you said I should treat everyone the same, whether I know who they are or not. I have been thinking about this for 41 hours. I think I have been treating everyone the same, and the problem is that I have been treating everyone badly. He folds it, puts it in an envelope, addresses it to the production office of Enter the Dragon at Golden Harvest Studios, Hammer Hill Road. He does not expect a response. 3 weeks later, a package arrives at Yau Ma Tei Station, addressed to Sergeant Lau Kam-Yuen. No return address. Inside, a paper bag. Inside the bag, a tin of oolong tea and a note on plain white paper. 7 words. The tea is better when you make it yourself. Lau reads the note 4 times, puts the tin in his locker. The note he puts in his wallet. He makes the tea that night. Sits in the break room at 3 a.m. while the station hums around him. The tea is good, not great, but good, and he made it himself. On July 20th, 1973, Lau Kam-Yuen is at his desk at Yau Ma Tei Station filling out a traffic incident report, when Constable Ho walks in and says 4 words. Bruce Lee is dead. Lau's pen stops. The ink dot on the report grows into a small pool. The same thing that happened to Young's pen 9 months ago. The same small, spreading stain that means the world has shifted and the hand holding the pen has not caught up yet. He opens his wallet, takes out the note, reads the 7 words, folds it back, returns it. He finishes the traffic report, files it, completes his shift, drives home, sits in his car for a long time in the parking space below his apartment building. His wife is asleep upstairs. His shift is over. There is nothing left to do tonight. He takes the note out one more time, reads it in the orange light of the parking garage. The tea is better when you make it yourself. He has been making his own tea every shift for 9 months. Not the instant powder from the station supply closet. Real tea, loose leaf, from the tin that has no return address. He boils the water properly, steeps it for the correct time, pours it into a ceramic cup he brought from home. The other officers noticed, asked why. He never told them. It was not the kind of story that explained itself in the break room at 3 a.m. It was the kind of story you carried quietly, like a letter in a wallet, like a tin of tea in a locker, like the memory of a man extending his wrists on a Tuesday night and saying, "Do it properly," with a voice that held no anger and no fear and no performance of any kind, just the calm of someone who understood something. Lau was only beginning to learn that the handcuffs don't define the man who wears them. They define the man who applies them. Lau retires from the Royal Hong Kong Police Force in 1987. 25 years, full pension. He is 49 years old. His wife throws a small party. His sons are there, former colleagues. It is a good evening. In his retirement, he volunteers at a legal aid center in Sham Shui Po, the same neighborhood he grew up in. He helps people navigate the police complaint system, files paperwork for them, translates police procedure into language that does not require a law degree, sits with women who have been harassed and tells them that they can file a complaint and that someone will listen. He does this for 18 years. When people ask why, he tells them different things at different times. Sometimes he says it's because he has time. Sometimes he says it's because Sham Shui Po needs it. Sometimes when the person asking seems like they actually want to know, he tells them about a night in October 1972 when he arrested the wrong man on Nathan Road and the wrong man forgave him before the handcuffs were off. He still has the note. It lives in his wallet. The paper is soft now, the creases deep, the ink faded to the blue-grey of an old bruise. But the 7 words are still legible. The tea is better when you make it yourself. In 2019, Lau's granddaughter is cleaning out his flat after he moves to a care home. She finds the wallet in a bedside drawer, opens it, finds the note, reads the 7 words, does not understand them. She finds the tin of tea on a shelf in the kitchen. Empty, has been empty for decades, but it has never been thrown away. She picks it up, turns it over. On the bottom in black marker, in handwriting she does not recognize, 2 Chinese characters, resent, respect. She puts the tin and the note in a shoebox. The shoebox goes on a shelf in her apartment in Tsui. She means to ask her grandfather about them. She does not get to. He passes in his sleep on a Thursday morning in March 2020. The same week the city goes into lockdown and the story stays in the box, until a university friend mentions Bruce Lee in a conversation about Hong Kong identity, and she remembers the tin, and the note, and the 2 characters on the bottom. And she opens the box, and she reads the 7 words again, and this time she understands. October 9th, 1972. Nathan Road, 11:47 p.m. 1 arrest. 1 set of handcuffs. 1 man who could have broken free and chose not to. 1 sergeant who followed procedure and missed the point. 1 hostess who filed a complaint because someone told her she could. 1 tin of tea, 7 words, and a granddaughter in Tsui, holding a note she was never meant to find, understanding a lesson she was never meant to learn, from a man who died 47 years before she read it. The tea is better when you make it yourself. It always was.